on his way. So welcome for coming. Appreciate it. And, first order of business, we do the pledge of allegiance. We'll call upon our secretary.
Thank you, Mr. President. Would you please rise and raise your right hand and repeat with me? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
You can have the roll call, please.
Mr. President, Division 2 Keith Dias.
Cook up from the corner.
Meet yourselves. Division 3 Frank Donato.
Here.
Division 4 George Lane.
Here.
Division 5 Robert Harris.
Here.
Division 6 Audrey Miller. Here. Division 7 Gary Van Dam.
Here.
Assistant General Manager Peter Thompson.
Here.
Attorney James Markman.
Here.
And Holly Hughes present.
Thank you much. Even if this is a special meeting, so it might be a little bit different, but if anybody is called in, we should notify themselves. That was the time to do so.
Hi, George. John Joyce reporting for the Acton Agua News.
John Eucasted, Antelope Valley Mutual Group.
Yep. Welcome, John.
Vincent Dino, Palmdale Water District.
Thank you. Moving on to the item number 5 for public comments. If anybody would like to address the board, we can do so at this point. I think we're beginning. I think we're beginning on the agenda's interview, so anybody would like to do a question, they're welcome to do that too. Okay, moving on, item number 6, the adoption of agenda. Item number 6A1. We have a motion. Director Harris. Director Miller, second. We have a motion and second. I think we're going to have a roll call.
No, because there's no other people on the line. Keith is not present.
Okay. Okay, all in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carried. Bring us down to new business. It's going to be reviewing the 3 candidates. You've got 3 very qualified candidates. And I think what we're going to either try to do is have a short interview of 15.
Recording in progress.
Before I get started, I think the candidates that in the religious freedom, again, by George, that all qualified, internet credentials, access to the style. So, we got the down there. The interview for the director, and then resumes on each position either as well, and we have time to take a look at this, and then also director questions to candidates on the field like. One thing I have to say is that probably did a good job, spent a lot of time on this. So, started first person university, and his choose number 1. So we started with him, I Currently, I'm the vice president of the Quartzville Water District. I've been on that board for almost 2 years now. I was appointed to the vacancy 2 summers ago, and was elected to a full term last November. Professionally, I currently work for Antelope Valley Edge for the last year and a half. Prior to that, I spent 20 years in state government as an advisor to several different elected officials from the Antelope Valley, Senator Pete Knight, Senator George Runner, Senator Sharon Runner, and Senator Shotwell.
Recording in progress.
Oh no, that's just my mailing address.
It's part of his packet. He submitted the bill.
Oh, I see. Okay. Okay, so. Yeah, you're committed from 21 the present, director of the current election as a first party. 19 president, director of the vice and 18 the president, members of current chairman of the Land Cash City Justice Commission. In 2014, the president, director of past, was the director of the Alabama Theater, and then this year, it's like the third. And we have the
Oh, well, it's a good question. I've always enjoyed being involved and keeping a full schedule. With that, again, it would be, if I were appointed, the Water District Board would be an incapable office because it works best. I'd be stepping down from there. Also, in the last few months, I've rotated out as president of the Fair Board and rotated out as chair of the Public Party. So, while I still have those committees of transition, not in leadership positions to those entities anymore, that's a period of some time. My work schedule is very flexible, and I'm able to attend, various community events and community meetings during the day, and would be able to make everything necessary.
I want to know.
I think there's so many projects going on that involve the state water project, water banking, things that I've worked on over the years in separate capacities. Again, as a liaison with the state at Quartzville Water District, that's been a benefit. Knowing the state agencies, working with CSDA, I'm actually also on the board for the local CSDA chapter, but identifying things at the state level that can benefit our agency. Avek interacts much more with the state than my current agency does. And I think that's what kind of excites me, the ability to help put that experience to work to benefit Avek, helping out on those projects. One of the ones I know that's coming down the line, I recently got a briefing on the Delta Conveyance project that the state is now promoting. It went from the peripheral canal back in the day, then the twin tunnels, and that got killed. Now Governor Newsom is promoting this new plan.
Certainly increasing reliability on the state water project is vital for our future. I'm a little concerned on the financing of it. We've passed 3 water bonds already as a state, and it looks like the way they want to put this down is going to end up on the backs of the property taxpayers. So I have a concern there how that's going to look. But as projects like that and working here with Avek, the water banking, ever since I was working with Senator Runner, I was following the adjudication process and the early ideas of just talking about the water banking and what we can do here. And so that's something that really excites me. The partnership that you have with Metropolitan, I think, is incredible. I mean, it's such a win-win for this valley. And as I understand it, you're banking over a little over 200 acre feet a day. Infrastructure has always been something that I'm passionate about. And I think if our state put as much foresight into infrastructure as this agency has, we'd all be in a lot better position. And so being able to assist with projects like that interests me greatly. Yes, sir.
What is the most difficult problem and decision that a board you have been on has had to deal with? The hard issue.
Okay. I'd say I was a planning commissioner in Lancaster for a couple of years. And one of the things that occurred after the state, the voters passed the proposition legalizing cultivation of cannabis. And the city was figuring out how to address that and how to authorize it. For me, as a planning commissioner, I was looking at a lot of things and a lot of projects that were coming, including from people I knew. And that was one area where I was kind of the odd man out at the city. I just didn't feel comfortable moving forward at that time on something that had federal legal questions surrounding it. And so on the planning commission, I was the sole vote against several projects, including several that were brought forward by people I know and work with. But the way I approach those is get it to the issue, take out personalities, listen to everyone. But at the end of the day, I felt differently. But by dealing with it respectfully, I think maintained relationships and professionalism, and we moved forward.
You what happened? There was a federal legislation. You said something changed.
Well, the state legalized cannabis, but the federal government hadn't.
Yeah, okay.
And there were banking issues and issues like that that me personally, looking at the situation as a whole, just wasn't ready to move forward on.
Thank you.
Drew, I had a question. What's your thoughts on more water being saved for the fish and not coming down for the farmers?
Well, I think, like all of us, we believe in being good environmental stewards, but this state is far too extreme. With what they've done and choking off the water supply. I went to school up at UC Davis 25 years ago, and so I've driven up and down the Central Valley for all during that time, and to see the change just in that time to almost a dust bowl is really scary, considering how important that agriculture is to us. I think we have to keep in mind human needs first. I'm not dispassionate about endangered species, but to be blunt, the Delta smelt is genetically identical to every other smelt in the country, whether it's in Texas or the Mississippi River. They call it the Delta smelt just because that's where this one happens to be, but it's not truly an endangered species. It exists everywhere. So that's one area where I think they've gone too far. Another one that we may be dealing with here is what they're doing with the Western Joshua tree. Even the state bureaucracy has acknowledged the Western Joshua tree is plentiful and ever present throughout the high desert from here on up to Ridgecrest, Bishop, and those areas. Yet they're going to add more restrictions on that as well. That's going to affect us. So, overall, I think the state goes a little too far in that direction.
Thank you.
I have one other question. What do you consider to be your core areas of expertise?
Let's say it really comes down to navigating government organizations. That's what I've been doing for my career over the last 25 years. And predominantly, 20 of those years here in the Antelope Valley, helping move things forward. As part of that, water is one of my areas of expertise. One of the first issues I worked on, even before I got to the Antelope Valley, before I moved back to the Antelope Valley, grew up here. I worked in Sacramento for a Riverside Assemblyman and represented him in several meetings dealing with the Colorado River QSA at the time that was being finalized. That experience has been useful just the last few weeks now, seeing that they're reallocating that, reducing California's and other states' shares, and I'm concerned about the effect that's going to have on us as it creates more pressure down the canal, so to speak, for that state water project water. Moving forward, when coming down here, I handled adjudication issues when I worked in the state senate for the runners, meeting regularly with various stakeholders, Avek, Farm Bureau, other local agencies, just keeping up to date on it, what was happening, and now in the Quartzville Water District.
And we have just a few minutes left. Is there any other questions? But probably no decision will be made this evening. Will probably be made the next board meeting next Tuesday.
Okay. Well,
What's your long-term goals for the valley? Yourself in here.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I'll tell you, my family moved out here in just before my sophomore year from Ventura County, and in August. That was a rough transition, but this valley quickly became home for me. There's a couple of buddies that I met the first day at Quartzville High are still two of my best friends. My mom's still out here, and this is home. I love that I've been able to work for different individuals, different organizations that all strive to make the valley a better place, and that's what I plan to do. I enjoy it, and this is home.
Now I'll ask you a hard one.
Mm-hmm.
What's your thoughts on the homeless?
That's a tough one. I think that's one of the biggest challenges our community faces is the crime and the homelessness. And the roughest part is that it's not a situation that's gotten out of hand because of local decisions or local policies. It's statewide. If you look at the numbers across the nation, almost 40% of the homeless in the country are in California. And it's just a little bit less than that. I think about 30% in New York. These are state policies that created this issue between housing shortages and a poor way to deal with crime and addiction. Locally, there's certainly some things we can do. That's one of the things I've worked on at the Criminal Justice Commission, and why I volunteer with the Sheriff's Boosters is because that safety is so important to our quality of life as well. If I can add one more thing that I didn't get to touch on, one of the areas that I worked on with those organizations pretty extensively, and it's one that I've discussed several times at the Quartzville Water District, is my concerns because of the illegal cannabis growing that they've been doing out on the east side, how that's going to affect us and our water situation. I mean, the thousands of acre feet of water have been stolen out of the ground, and just as damaging when they're mixing their chemicals, they're just digging a pit and throwing a tarp in it and mixing chemicals together that are banned in California that are then seeping into the ground. When Congressman Garcia helped lead one of the raids out there, and I'm concerned what that's going to do both to our water table and the environment of the water.
And
I have one more comment. Is our, I thought we only have legal
Yes.
representation.
He's on, Mr. Markman's on the line.
Is he on there?
Mhm.
Okay, so one of the questions I have, is, I have to get a clarification. I mean, you have the credentials. The question I have is this: do you see a conflict, working on the AVAC, board?
No?
Well, the question I have for our legal department is that I have two fair directors, one right here
Mhm.
and one right there, and you're a fair director.
Mhm.
So the question is, can the two fair directors that sit on the AVAC board vote? I'm asking the question to our legal counsel. Are you not on the for fair board anymore?
Let me clarify, I'm on the Friends of the Fair Board, and I'm on the JPA, I'm not on the Association Fair Board that Drew is on, or Gary is on.
Okay,
And I
so,
think the Fair Board has 11.
11 members, yes.
The Association Board.
no, that's what I'm getting clarification. So the question is that then, I asked him, is there any possible conflict? Because if you and Gary sit on the same board, I would assume you might have to abstain from the vote, because we're going to vote, we have to vote.
Mhm.
So I need a clarification from our legal department. And also, Rob does sit on one of the fair boards,
Mhm.
directorship over there, that deals with monetary finances, there's no question. And so does Gary, and now you. So the question is not pointed to you. The
Mhm.
question is the concept that for voting on who we're going to pick today, is there any potential conflict with the agency?
If I can provide some info, just to say, it's an unpaid board.
I'm messing my count. What is Jim?
Yeah, he's on. Mr. Markman's on.
Would you want me to respond to that, Frank? Yeah, the question is whether anyone has a source of income by being on the fair board, which if it's a non-paid, voluntary, public benefit company, then you probably are not going to have a legal conflict of interest which would disqualify. That's a highly unlikely. The question might be the comfort or discomfort of somebody sitting on the fair board and voting on AVEC to financially support the fair. That may be a discomfort or some kind of public policy or PR discomfort, but not a legal discomfort.
Well, maybe you don't understand how the board of directors of the fair are appointed. That is not all true. It's appointed by the city of Lancaster City Council that appoints the fair directors.
Frank, can I clarify that?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm on the JPA, and it's the JPA who appoints the Fair Board directors. JPA, made up of the Assembly Member's Office, and the Senator's Office, representative of the Fair, the representative of the state of Lancaster, representative of the city of Agriculture. So they are appointed by.
Okay, but I think Gary was appointed by Lancaster.
He was not. He
So
was appointed by the JPA. JPA is board I just.
wait, you're telling me that the AVAC has interest in there, that any monetary or anything to do with AVAC, that when you vote on facilities we have or the contribution we give, there's not a conflict of interest if they're on AVAC board?
You asking me that, Frank, again?
Yeah, because
Yeah, let me say again, unless there's some monetary interest, the conflicts of interest that disqualify people are financial conflicts of interest. So somebody on the fair board who's not paid and is, however they get there by appointment, are not required legally to abstain because there's no financial benefit to themselves. If they're uncomfortable because they're actually wearing two hats or they're on both sides of that coin, then they may decide to abstain on that vote, which would be fine, it would be appropriate, but no legal conflict or no financial conflict of interest. That's the distinction.
So the line is that as long as there's no financial, they're being represented. Well, they get paid on AVAC board. So there is conversation on AVEC because we get a stipend pay. So, but the thing is that as long as they're not getting paid, a stipend pay at the fair
Yes,
of any monetary, then it's considered truly, volunteer.
that's correct. And
Okay.
since AVEC is going to pay something to that board, if that board was a source of income to an AVEC board member, then there would be a cause to abstain, but that's not the case.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, well, thank you for coming in, and we'll be talking, next week, the decision will be made.
Well, wonderful. Thank you for your time. I appreciate your consideration.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Really appreciate it.
Thank you, Drew. And at this time, the board will take about a 5 or 10 minute, recess and come back to the second candidate, Rick Norris.
On the element county.
Yeah.
That would be good.
Yeah.
Is the boundary still, started off as it now? I thought you guys took in San Fernando Valley too.
No, we were helping them.
Welcome, Rick.
Thank you. Good afternoon. For North, hello.
Hi. Sir Parrish, how are you?
I'm well.
Rick Donato is chairman of this committee, but we have about 15, 20 minutes right there, so
Okay,
it's not gonna be,
whatever you want.
yeah, not gonna be real long right there. Okay.
Yeah, we thank you for coming back and, so, I mean, usually the routine basically, you got through it the first time that, I think, another 2 weeks, we're pretty good.
Right.
Yeah, so anyway, we got some questions here. We're gonna have other questions coming from the different directors and, who's gonna, well, I'll start off. Okay, so why do you wanna be a director of AVAC?
I want to continue the legacy I've been building for 35 years, community involvement, philanthropic organizations, city council, Boy Scout, district chairman, all of that stuff. The thing is that, water is the lifeblood of the community. It either grows or dies. And having previous experience with the Building Industry Association, I learned that this is the San Fernando Valley of the 21st century. And it's because it's a matter of necessity. The Los Angeles area is built out, Orange County's built out, San Diego's built out. All they can do is move to the east and to the north. And because we're in that growth cycle, Antelope Valley's going to see some of it. So as a result of that, we have to plan for the growth that's going to occur and make it sustainable for our children, our grandchildren, which is important to me. And that's why I'm interested in this position, to see if I can help and make it a little better. When I leave this earth, I will have done everything I can.
Thank you. Michael, what are my questions?
Well, I'm Director Miller, and welcome.
Good evening.
Everybody's very well qualified. I have a question about what skills and connections that you have, resources, can you bring specifically to the water, for ADA and water in the Antelope Valley?
Well, the thing is that we have to do proper planning. The background that I have is expertise in business for 35 years, transportation, entitlements. In fact, recently, one of my clients was the only one besides the mall that got the general plan amendment that they had desired. And that was because of a lot of hard work, working with the city, I work with all the council members, same with Lancaster. So I understand the intricacies of getting things done in government. And I think that I can bring that to the board, being able to find those sources, use the sources, get the entitlements, work with city government, state government, and make things happen for the AVEC.
I'll go next, Mr. Norris. What is the most difficult problem and decision that a board you have been on has had to deal with?
Wow.
I asked the hard
We're
one.
going over, yeah, we're going over 35 years.
Palmdale City Council, I know the date.
We had some difficult decisions. We dealt with water when I was back on the council and tried to find ways to use the existing mining operations. When they're completed, they have to go back and recycle basically the land. And we can use those for lakes. We can use that for storage, especially the location. We can be able to recharge the underground aquifer, especially on the east side. On the west side, as I represented the builders, I was trying to get a development to put in a lake where they could slant drill into the aquifer and get water from Avek, store it when it was more than when it was available. That was a way for us to build for the future. And I think that's the way of the future. I don't know if we're going to become the San Fernando Valley until 30s, 40s, but we have to plan for it because there's no other place for them to go. The most difficult decision, I think we've been in some storms. I think, the hardest decision was when I wanted to make a decision, but I knew personally, and I knew it was going to affect the community long term, and I made the decision to benefit the community. That's the hardest.
I have one more. What do you consider to be the core areas of your expertise?
Business, government, entitlements, infrastructure. I chaired the State Rail Commission.
Can you elaborate to the board here and who's on Zoom, your involvement with infrastructure back how the BIA and what's going on, things like that, because most people don't have what we have in front of us.
I think one of the decisions was the pipeline from the Acton area to be able to deliver water.
His mic's all over there.
I turned it away because I keep hitting it.
Okay.
Is that better?
There you go.
There you
go. Okay.
And the infrastructure that we needed, like I said, when I was working with the development community, it was to also provide infrastructure for the community, including the water, the lake, the recharge areas. Getting money, grants. I've gotten grants for school districts to be able to enhance the student opportunities. Nonprofit, I wrote 3 or 4 grants for the schools, and it's basically, and part of it was the Mission Act. I wrote part of the Mission Act for the veterans. That was adopted by Congress in 11 months that allows veterans to go to urgent cares for their primary or non-emergency visits. They can go up to 3 a year, and that basically helped clear the emergency room. So, it's all intermingled. Trying to think of other infrastructure projects that I've been working on over the years. As there's gray hair, I'm allowed for some forgiveness because I've done a lot. As many of you know, I have been involved in this community for 35 years.
I also would like to, for the record, compliment your service as a military. It looks like during the Nam years, served 7 years, 66 or 90, so 4 years in the military.
I served 4 years in the Marine Corps, 1 year, 14 months in Vietnam. I was a helicopter gunner, and I've continued to serve the veterans since then. I sit on the board of the VA West LA. I serve on the board of Shriners Hospitals for Children. because those are my concern. How do I make it better? And as the chairman of Palmdale Regional Medical Center, you know, we've been working to make it the best hospital in the Antelope Valley. We've been providing additional services that, you know, are now open for the OBGYN, the emergency department for children, the NICU unit, things that I think are making this community better. Those decisions that I make are always about the community.
I had a question, Rick. What's your thoughts on the Delta snow, saving more water for the Delta snow?
I think they carried it to an extreme. There should be and is technology that can prevent those Delta smelt being sucked into the turbines. We need water. We don't need more fish. So it's a matter of how do we help conserve what we've got, keep from destroying the environment and the fish. But I think they could be using more technology, and I also think the state should be creating more dams for storage of water.
And all my friends that fish like to catch the smell, usually to catch a striper. Striper fish. That's what we'll eat them. It's not the pumps. They keep on saying pumps.
The pumps.
Yeah, it's the fish.
And I don't see why. You know, I know the environmentalists want more protection, but at some point in time, we've got to use common sense. You know, is it people or fish?
Good luck on the next 5 to 10 million people in California when they need water.
That's right.
That's not stopping.
Well, we got sustainability issues that we have to be concerned with. You know, we've got to serve the community as it exists. We also have to plan for the future.
Yes.
And now for the hard one, what's your thoughts on all the homeless? What's your recommendation there?
Well, I think being really involved with the VA, West LA, we're looking at building more units for veterans. But I also think that they need to incorporate some of those mini homes, give them some direction. We need to create those in the outlying areas. As long as they have septic and water, we can sustain them. Many of the cases that I've seen, there's about 10%. There's 80% that need a hand up. There's 10% that won't come whatever we do. They want to live. They don't want any contact with government. So they're going to live on their own. But for those that want help, I don't see why we couldn't use transitional housing in the minis. Either my God, we've got storage containers sitting down in Long Beach that could be used and modified into separate living conditions, 2 of the containers. That's what I think should be done. And I think they're going to move to that direction. I don't think they have any choice. So we have to find some areas that we can put them in, help our people. And I think that a container or a mini home would be sufficient to help those who can't help themselves. That's my thought.
Thank you.
Yeah, we're down to about 5 minutes, so if there's any other questions from the board.
Well, the question is, you know my background, 35 years, all of the activities I've been in, all of the experience that I've been able to gain over those 35 years, is what does the board need from me? And that's kind of a key question to ask. You know what I have, you know what I want to do, continue the legacy. What does the board need from me? Government connections, infrastructure, finance. I have all those tools in my toolbox.
I think,
Okay, is there anything further from the board?
I have one more question. So you see yourself, Rick, staying here in the valley then?
Until they put me in the ground.
Born and raised?
Or when they put me in the ground. Yes, I plan to stay and I hope my children continues to live here. The one son is in the Marine Corps, soon to be a lieutenant colonel. And I would like him and his wife come back, especially since she's a female gastroenterologist. So if they can get discounts on colonoscopies or something.
Have you
Yes.
get a discount on Ford trucks also?
Yeah. Well, my brother-in-law sold the Ford agency, so he still has connection.
Right.
If you need help. Yeah, it's all about the network. I mean, I've built this network for 35 years since arriving, and I have the ability to use it. You just need to tell me where you need me to use it.
Okay, Rick, good job. Thank you for coming in.
Thank you, sir.
The decision will not be made at this meeting. It will be next week right there. So thank you much.
Thank
Good to see you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Rick.
Thanks very much.
Have a great evening.
You too.
Can we take a break now?
Yeah.
Wars in the country. Every single county has over 1 million.
Florida or Texas?
But
In Texas, they're being overran by
well, they have over 1 million of them. The state of Florida. Number one is Oklahoma.
pigs.
Yeah. Hi. Hello. Yeah.
Really terrible.
Goodness, at the podium.
Go with Ted Nugent.
Just one of the chance to meet with you, chat with you. I think it's in your ideas.
Oh, you don't want my ideas, really?
About 15, 20 minutes right there. And you know, decision you made today and you made next week. So then maybe we'll just kind of show off, if there's an out of the chairman of the committee and let's show off. If there's a question or.
Well, good evening.
Good
You
evening.
know, I think you know pretty much everybody here.
Yes.
That's Audrey right there, Miller.
Hi,
Rob Paris.
I know Rob.
Seen him a few times.
Yes, a few times, at a few different things.
But so, you know, it's funny. It really is. 4 out of 5 of us are fair directors.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Oh, God. Okay, so that's your resume, and, you know, you've been very involved with the community. You said you live out on 252nd Street West. That's, I think that's the MENAC area. And the question is to you is, you've been involved with West Valley Water District. It says 2004. You've been a director.
Yes, I believe it's been since, it's 20 plus years. I haven't kept track. You know, they just keep telling me, yeah.
Okay. So were you involved with any of the finances or like, I mean, basically making decisions on dealing with, you know, the wells, the water and anything like that?
Pretty much we all are. And as far as the finances are concerned, we do have our secretary, we have our general manager, and we all pretty much make the judgment calls as far as, you know, what will be coming. You know, like I said, we just did rate hikes, something we hadn't done in probably 30, 40 years. So unfortunately, I'm not very light right now because we did have to do that.
Being the director, sometimes it gets that way.
Yes.
The second question I have for you is, I noticed you're somehow involved with the Centennial. That's a Tejon project.
Yes.
I have a 2-part question. One, have you ever worked with being out in that area, the Tejon area, the Tejon Ranch, and the Centennial project that's continually going on?
Correct. From pretty much from day one, when they came into the community to ask those of us there, come to the informational meetings and who would like to come and get the information to support, or, whatever were our questions as far as what we had against the project. And I chose to work with them. So I've gone to the board of supervisors meetings in downtown LA to show my support, to speak on their behalf. I've gone to several meetings and outreach programs that we have in Fraser Park, Gorman, at Tejon Ranch itself, and throughout the Antelope Valley to support the Centennial Project in the different ways between the getting the approvals and things like that. So, yeah.
Thank you.
So, so is your water agency that you're at right now, does that support the Centennial?
We are not close enough. We are not involved as far as water is concerned because we are such a small water district. It's just our 200 and some odd customers there. So we are not, but because of the water table and the infrastructure that they're going to be building on 138 coming towards 300th Street, that's where it involves our community. So they're asking, what is it that we want to see? And obviously we would like to see the road widened. We'd like to see the police, fire, medical emergency in that community on 138. The schools, some things that, as far as a community, that we wanted to see and how it is going to affect our water table and our water district. How much are they planning on putting in as far as their, water supply? Tejon Ranch pretty much is self-sufficient. So if anything, they would be benefiting us out in Neenach and Holiday Valley and Mettler and all of our little areas out there.
Yeah, I'm trying to envision, so is that district south of the 138?
My district, it is north of Highway 138, 3 Points Road. So Pine Canyon is to the south of us, and Kings Canyon area, and I don't know. I'm trying to think. So Tejon Ranch does butt up to it, Avenue A, and so on and so forth. And so it does. 300th, I believe, is where the cow pens are, and so out in that area.
You know Holiday Valley,
Yeah, I call that portion of the valley the way west valley. Yeah,
Barnes Ranch. Barnes Ranch is.
I'm a bit hunter's bad name when I was a kid.
Yes. I was going to say Hank Hunter and had his place right up 3 Points right there. And then Mr. Barnes, Bill and Eldor Barnes had all that area for farming right up behind me. So they're there. And then, yeah.
So out of all the experience that you have with that water agency, and how long have you been a resident out there?
For probably 30 some odd years, 31. Yes.
With the area. And I read here, I believe that you're involved with the fire department?
Yes, I was a volunteer with the LA County Fire Department for many years, doing things that now the CSR, a paid position, is doing. I teach the CSRs what to do in the Antelope Valley, pretty much. So they are always asking me, well, why aren't you? I said, no. I'm too politically incorrect to take a paid position that I'd be fired from, too quickly. So I like volunteering. I like volunteering more.
Okay. And tell me a little bit about yourself.
I was married for, sorry, tried not to.
I don't.
No, I was married for over 30 years,
to my husband, who was an LA County fireman, paramedic. He passed away in 2020. And we raised 4 girls. They're all grown and gone. One's in Roseman, one's in Tehachapi, one's here in Lancaster, and one is the furthest away of Chowchilla. So, yeah, and she's the one that has the grandkids that always come over. So I drive that 99 at least twice a month to pick them up or drop them off. So, but were all community queens. They all played baseball or here in the Antelope Valley. They all did 4-H. They did FFA. They were all very involved in the community. When my one tomboy played baseball, Frank was the coach, but the only girl on his team. They were all community queens, like I said, for Antelope Acres. So my youngest one was Little, Junior, and Miss. So they all, like I said, we were all very involved.
All grown up.
All grown up now and kids of their own.
So, how do you manage your time with your other events if you were to come on?
I have quelled down a few of the projects. The only thing that I'm really on now is the Water District, and I am very involved with Valley Oasis. I sit on that board also. Their meetings right now are in the morning. So, and anything that we do our fundraisers and things like that. So we usually meet in the morning, afternoon, whatever is good for us there. As far as anything else, I just squeeze in my time here and there. I help out with the local baseball team because they don't have anybody to help them with that. Whatever I have time for, I do it. If I don't have time, I take care of my business first.
So, in your experience with that water board, what can you bring to us with that?
Well, my experience with the water board, I have learned very much in how to deal with the public as far as making choices that the public not necessarily is happy with, but helping them to understand why these are being done, and they have to be done for the most part. So I'm hated for a few minutes, and then after explain to them I'm not the bad guy here. I try to do things. Everything's right and wrong, black and white type of thing. So I try really hard to be the neutral, making hard decisions that need to be done, and following through with them. But I always do research. I feel like now I've been on there so long that I can't learn anything more. I've hit. I feel like I'm on repeat with the water board there, and with Avek, there's so much more here I could learn, and bring to the table, so to speak, too.
What interests you about Avek and that?
I've been interested in Avek for quite a long time. When Frank and I had been discussed, anytime I had questions as far as our board was concerned, I'd always turn to Frank and, hey, we have this issue, we have this problem, can you come over and talk? I'd look up whatever I could. And we get our testing done here. The information that I bring back to our water board comes from here. Like I said, there's so much more here to learn. Like I said, I'm kind of at a standstill where I'm at now. We've brought in a couple new water board members who know everything, so I'll let them, do their thing, type of thing. So I'm good, and like I said, I just want to learn more and be more involved. There's so much here.
Yeah, I'd like to comment on that. So that was my district for over 20 years, until Shirley got elected and we changed the boundaries. So all of the rural area to the west wrapped around all the way through Leona Valley And I had all of Acton off the Dulce when I first got elected to the board. So town councils were really big. And they were, I looked at them as a town council, but, so, yeah, that's how I know the area very well. In fact, I took over Al Skelton, who was on the board many, many years, and one of the founders, I think, one of the directors of AVEC. So, we met, we go out to the town council meetings. And of course, everything is about why is our taxes so high?
Yeah, and
Look at your water bill, you're going, God dang.
Yeah.
It shows how we can get $102 a month water bill.
Yeah, good luck with that one. Now, I also know quite a few people on the different water boards in the outlying areas. Like I said, we kind of talk, one of them that was brought up as I was looking through names, I'm like, trying to rack my brain here. And I'm going, I actually know, because being involved with the 4-H and the FFA, and I belonged to the chamber also, quite a few, the fire department, lots of different entities. So I did get to meet quite a few people in the different areas and the town council members, the different water districts. And so I enjoyed that part, the benefit of, going out and meeting the other people and nitpicking, information from each other. So that was a benefit. I'm sorry, hon. You said.
I have the hard problem. Decision about or you have been on has had to do.
The water rates. When in our area, we sell water to people in the Kern County side who have no water at all. So they have water tanks. So they come down to us. They're on a completely separate meter and buy our water. So since these surcharges were coming in saying that we're only allotted so many hundreds of gallons of water, and if we go above that, we're going to be charged the fines. It came into effect that, well, then we need to cut these people off for their water. I disagreed with that. You can't cut people off with their water because they're not going to have any place else to get it from. That was probably the biggest fight I had, because I said you can charge them more, because if we do get fined, maybe these fees will cover the fine. I said, this is all new. This is new to all of us. I said, so we need to find out a different way of going about this, instead of saying, oh, boom, cut and dry. These people are no longer selling water from the hydrant, no longer selling to these people in Kern. So that within my board, that was probably the hardest. And then when the public came to argue the same thing, you had families, saying, if we don't get the water from you, we can't get it from anywhere because so-and-so is not selling it to us. And if we have it trucked in, it's going to cost 5 times the amount, so on and so forth. So that right there, anything having to do with water rates is probably the most difficult. Our water is all from groundwater. We actually have 3 different pumps. One pump is at the water district office itself, and that was the original. That water is now considered emergency water only because it's not clean enough. The second pump area is down off of 138, and it's actually pumped from there up to our tanks, which are up on 3 Points Road. And then from there, it gets pumped and distributed to our area. So, and that is all through the water table that we have there. Yes, we are. Correct. We changed the water rates. We have a flat fee for hundreds, the 100-gallon, 100 cubic, I think it is, and there's that flat fee, and then we have different tiers. We have tier 1, tier 2, tier 3, depending upon how much water you use. So obviously tier 1 is the lowest, because you use the lowest amount of water, and then goes up from there. So just depending upon how much water you use is how much you get charged up on those tiers. And then the current people that we put on a separate pump, they have a completely separate fee. And theirs, from what the fee was before, I believe we tripled it. Yes. Yes, we've had no issues, including the emergency well that's there. It used to fill up our lake. We used to use that to fill up our lake, and that was just there for aesthetics and community to walk around it and enjoy the day, just there, with all the trees and the little playground. But when all of this came into play, we had to let it dry out and chose not to pump water into there. And it was mainly because of the electricity use. The electricity to pump the water into that lake was costing $3,000-$4,000 a month. So that's what we had to start cutting down.
Yeah. You know that Avek's got a big project right across the street, basically, which is the high end of the water.
So yes, I did hear that.
So, the good news is that when we start putting water in that ground, your table's gonna come up a little bit.
Yes.
So that's gonna higher the table, less power costs.
Yes. Yes.
So, you know how far that would be from Hidden Valley, our facility?
I can't guess, not off the top of my head.
Okay. So I'm just wondering if we have a long line run that could be repurposed in that rezone that could, maybe benefit the community. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
If we're in Palmdale, you'd know.
I had to ask a question.
Now, would you be stepping down from your current water position?
Yes.
If you become an AVAT director?
Yes, I would.
And what's your thoughts on the Delta smelt on saving more water? Delta smelt.
I believe people before fish. I believe people before anything. I think you can take a fish, put it in another area of water. Guess what? I'm pretty sure they're going to breathe. They're going to grow. They're going to be just fine. Same thing with the tortoise. Same thing with the bird. Same thing with we had the same issue with the tricolor blackbird, because we let our lake dry out. The tricolor blackbird no longer had a place to nest. So, and they only nest in the bodies of water where the cattails are. So I said, I kind of fought that. I liked the water being in our lake, but I understood, the pros and cons of why we had to let it dry up. But come to find out, they have the lake right down the road there. They flourished, I know, because now there's hundreds of them in my trees and front yards that are so noisy. They'll find a way. Evolution, they will find a way. I'm not fond of trying to save animals, so on and so forth. Just like letting water run out into the middle of the ocean or run out into the middle of the who knows where. I think laws need to be changed. I think new things need to be done.
Okay. Is there any further questions? I think our time's about expired, and we appreciate it very much. And we've had 3 very qualified, candidates. And no decision will be made, today, as we said, made next week. But it's going to be a very tough decision from the board. And we certainly appreciate you coming in, and we'll be talking to you later.
Okay.
Hey, thank you much.
Thank you. Thank you. Have a good evening.
Thank you.
Don't get blown away.
No, well, thank you. Okay, I think that brings us to the end of the agenda. If there's nothing further from the board members or, it was a good, we had a very good meeting, and I think we all learned a lot. And I think a motion would be in order to adjourn to June 13th at 5:30.
Mr. President, can I have, go.
Yeah.
I have a question on YouTube, but Gary, go ahead.
When do we discuss this?
It would have to be next meeting.
Next meeting?
It'll all be an open session.
Okay.
So we'll just have open deliberations at our next meeting,
Yeah,
and will we do the vote at our next meeting then?
that's the plan, is we have a deadline. It's gotta be, choice has to be made, so by our next meeting, I think that's,
13th.
yeah, 13, I think that's about it.
That's one of our regular meetings. right?
Yeah.
Okay.
And we did check with council, and this has to be done, everything in open session. Is that, to our attorney, is that correct?
Yes, you have to take an action, a simple motion to select one of these people to fill the vacancy in open session. No closed session on filling a board seat for the whole board.
In time wise, is that correct? It has to
Yes.
be done by the.
This is it's sort of the last chance, yeah.
And will we swear the new member in at that meeting?
I think we hopefully.
That's fine. So we're asking that
Yeah.
all three of them come to the meeting?
Yeah, we haven't discussed that. That's a good question. Do our legal counsel, would we have
That's,
to?
I think what Holly has made sure one of us is up there. Till and Kim will be there personally in case you want to swear the person in on the spot. We'll be there.
Is that necessary to swear a person in that day?
If you appoint, there's no specific timeline on how fast they take office, so I don't think it's necessarily that they would have to be sworn in at the time, as long as you take your action. So if you want to wait for something, sure.
That's a good question. It could be awkward
Yeah.
if all three candidates there and just one is chosen.
Yeah.
Okay, is there any other questions?
Excuse me?
From the public?
Oh, yes, yeah, please.
Public.
Hello?
Yes.
Okay, sorry. I said I was muted. Sorry about that. I'm from LA County Waterworks. I just had a real quick question. Is there any way we could get the names of the candidates that you guys interviewed today?
Definitely. And we can get that from, Holly, would you be able to furnish those?
Yes,
Can
yes.
you just put them on the chat so everybody has them?
Okay.
Would that work for you?
Yeah, that would be perfect. I think Drew was the first one, right? Drew Mercy was the first one?
Drew Mercy.
Rick Norris and Elizabeth Ballantyne.
Elizabeth Valentine. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And Holly will put them on the chat so you have the right spelling.
Thank you so much, guys.
Is there anything else from the public? Okay, we need a motion to adjourn to June 13th at 5:30.
Mr. President, I move we adjourn.
I second. Director Parrish, Director Donato? Okay. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carried. Adjourned. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.